So I'm here with a brand new All Access with composer Joseph Stevens. Joseph, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. So great to meet you.
Great to meet you. Thank you.
So I'd love to kind of start off by just knowing a little bit about your origin story. Kind of growing up, when did music kind of enter your life, and when did it kind of turn from a hobby into a career?
I got involved with music probably junior high. I played trumpet. I mean, definitely junior high. I played trumpet in the band, and then a buddy turned me onto guitar. I picked up guitar eighth grade or something like that, and then took classical lessons for a few years, and then fell in love with Slash and Led Zeppelin and different rock bands, and wanted to do that, and dropped a lot of things in my life at that point. I was playing sports and a lot of things like, yeah, just once I got the rock and roll the taste for the rock and roll, I wanted that. And so, yeah, I just started writing songs and forming bands in high school. And then that led to college, kind of the same thing. I took a film, it wasn't a film school, but I was a film major
Oh,
in
cool.
school, and but it was always in the background, just playing music. And then I got connected with some guys at a different film school with Danny and Jody, those guys, and the music that I was doing kind of led into some of the films that they were making or projects that they were making in college, and then after college, and it just kind of kept snowballing to the point where yeah, it's
So
I
you
stopped
met
being a band and then started writing music for film.
you met Danny and Jody in college. That's where you guys first kind of connected.
We had a mutual friend that that connected me to a lot of guys at the school, and yeah. So I didn't know them super well. I knew some of the other. There's a whole like gaggle of guys from this school, and yeah. So I've known some of them closer than others, and I got to know Danny and Jody closer. I got to know them better after college, when we made Foot Fist Way, and then Observe and Report and Eastbound and Down. When all these projects started really taking off, um, I got to know them a lot better than I did when I was in college. I knew them in college, but not as well.
And I mean, I really think that your style of composing really matches with their sense of humor, their sense of style, the way they craft their. I mean, their projects are so unique because I think there's such a masterful blending of tones. They can be, as ridiculous and obscene as they can, but also cover some dark materials and stuff. Did you find that you gelled with that creatively right from the beginning, or did you have to kind of see what their style is and kind of morph to it?
No, pretty much. Yeah, we gelled pretty quickly. Yeah, we have the same kind of sense of humor and a lot of the same taste in music. And so the evolution of some of the stuff that we've done, from dating back from Foot Fist Way up to Righteous Gemstones, has been it's been a journey. They're not all the same by any stretch, but yeah, there's a lot of through lines, I guess. Mostly, we just don't we treat these comedies as dramas, and
Yeah.
so a lot of the humor is, we don't really point to the humor with music. It's more about what we feel like sounds good, or feels good, and kind of twisting things on its side, making things maybe overly dark, and like sometimes like pushing the dark side of the humor, I guess, instead of punching jokes or making music that's overtly comedic.
Would you agree that, yeah, I agree completely that the music should probably, so would you tend to stay away from the comedy and just let, because the performance kind of carries that, and the timing of the editing and the way the actors work, do you just try to stay away from when you're spotting like this does not need music, we should not make it goofy or anything?
Well, it always depends. I mean, I've done projects where we do, where the music is more comedic, but for the relationship with Roughhouse and Danny and Jody, they tend to push against that that kind of product. And so, there are moments where that's what the producer or director wants. And so I've done that, where I've made music that's more comedic than the Righteous Gemstones. um, but yeah, it just kind of depends on the project and who's in charge, and what is being asked, and what the overall kind of collective vibe is for the project.
Absolutely. So when you came into Eastbound and Down, I think you started as an additional composer for a while, and then you kind of took over the project. Was that kind of you kind of becoming their? I know you did Observe and Report as well. What was it like during that process where you kind of started at the beginning of a series and it ran longer than, say, Vice Principals was a 2-season show? And congratulations on season 3 for Gemstones that just got announced, so that's exciting. But having to, and I think Eastbound and Down ran for a couple more seasons. Was it interesting to start from the ground floor and kind of work your way through and becoming the main composer of the show?
Yeah, I mean, I think Eastbound and Down is interesting because there's a lot of needle drops, and there's a lot of more so than Vice Principals and the Righteous Gemstones. So a lot of the score kind of had to fit into that, into what they were feeling with needle drops, and so that dictated a lot of what I did. Um, and so it was, but it was nice because there was a lot of genre hopping. So
Yeah.
Eastbound and Down has a lot of, I mean, there's so many different genres that I would tackle, from just southern rock to 80s synthy stuff to horror music to um, Morricone style stuff to drums. I don't know. It's just like kind of ran the gambit. We wrote some kind of fake songs every once in a while where there's music in there with vocals that were supposed to be songs, and it was nice to cut my teeth in that kind of environment, because they would throw a lot at me. There was a lot of unusual requests, and just just hopping genres, and just whatever made it the funniest, and the coolest. That was kind of the vibe. There were no themes really. There was no like sound of a character per se. It was mostly just a kind of an eclectic mix bag of music.
And then then after that, you guys did Vice Principals, which I absolutely love. And I'm rewatching it actually right now between episodes of Gemstones as I'm waiting for the next one to come out. But you got to really embrace kind of the high school drumline sound, but he also did some really cool synth textures and kind of retro sounding stuff. And talk about approaching specifically Vice Principals and creating the sound for that show.
That was Danny had this idea for drums, um, the sort of military aspect of drums, and having it be this big pounding, sort of aggressive military style. That was one aspect or profile to the score, and then the other was this synthy kind of retro feeling thing, which is, I think, probably started from our love of 80s music. This takes place in high school. That show takes place in high school, and I wasn't in high school in the 80s, but it was, um, I was close enough to it. So it was, so it felt like something that was close to us and something that was fun to do because we felt like we knew it, and it felt like the right, element to add to it. And we just kept pushing it, and it made, kind of this John Carpenter kind of, I don't know, John Carpenter meets, Brian De Palma, or I don't know. It's just this very um, sort of scary score.
Yeah, it has some
Times
dark stuff
yeah,
to it.
it's
It's
yeah, it's
great.
kind of dark. um, but then with the drums, that's all Danny. That was his idea, and so we had to wrangle drummers and record drum lines, and that was interesting. It was fun, kind of hard to tackle. We kind of threw so many different kinds of drum formations into that show, with small percussion lines that I would record here at my studio, and then just like a whole bed of electronic percussion stuff, and then a full-on high school drum line with kids singing and all of that. So we went bananas with the drums and percussion. It was fun.
I think it worked so well with the tone of the show. I think I read a quote that Danny said you guys were trying to make like a John Hughes movie that was from the adults' perspective instead of the kids, but
Right.
also just having that unique tone of their voice and your voice with the music for sure. And now, um, moving to Gemstones, you got to create another world. And the first season, the second season, I've noticed there's definitely the score has evolved. But starting with the first season, I did notice a lot of, you mentioned Morricone with Eastbound and Down, but he kind of did a little bit of Western stuff there. There was that great kind of dark motif that kind of underlaid throughout the whole season. What was kind of the approach with Gemstones and tackling, especially the topic of televangelists and the scope of that show?
Well, I think yeah, we wanted that to feel much different. We didn't want to rely on needle drops as heavily as we had on the past for other projects. We wanted it to feel more cinematic and more um, grandiose and operatic. And so there are character themes, and there's a lot of like piano stuff, and then there's a lot of bigger score pieces than we've done in the past. And um, yeah, I mean, we wanted to implement. I wanted to implement a lot of organs, and so season one has more organ than season two. Season two is has evolved a bit, but yeah, season one has a lot of um, church organs, and I recorded a bunch of church organs and played a bunch of bass pedals and melodies on bass pedals, and tried to kind of rearrange or not deconstruct the organ, but use it in ways that are somewhat unconventional, like playing melodies on the bass pedal and running it through a lot of effects and distorting it and kind of mangling the organ. And then we did a lot of choral stuff here and there to kind of tie into the religious aspect of it. Um, and there's a lot of vocal stuff. There's a lot of like scary vocal stuff, both in season one and season two. That's not choral. It's just creepy Tuvan voices or whisper, like Latin whispering, and just weird, kind of eerie textures.
Yeah, it's so tactile. I love it. You can like feel it working. I don't know. It's especially when you the way that the way that show shifts like between and that. Is it difficult to match that tone though? Because I love it. You can't really put a box in it. I can't call it comedy or drama. It's just their voice as a style. And I sometimes genres kind of piss me off a little bit because like I love Ted Lasso, but it wins all these comedy awards. That's such a dramatic show as well. As a composer, is it difficult to find that tone and find the balance to make sure it is? I know you could say you stay away from the comedy a bit, but to make sure it's still engaging the audience and keeping them engaged with the characters.
I guess we don't. I don't know. I think that we kind of stick to what we like first and hope that it works.
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like Gemstones is very unique because very it's dark. I feel like it's darker than Vice Principals,
yeah,
but it has all these other more heartwarming family moments and all these themes that are very like tender, and we treat everything very seriously with all the characters despite how buffoonish they are and how absurd these situations are. Um, and the uh, so like when like crafting the music and whether or not we feel like it's going to connect with an audience, I feel like we don't really think about that as much as we just kind of do what we feel like works for us and what is collectively working in house. And then once it gets once everybody's happy there, we just kind of keep our fingers crossed and see what happens. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's this season, especially season two, gets pretty heavy, and there's a lot of like different approaches that we're taking. I found this recording, this old reel to reel with some found recordings on it that I've implemented in the score and just mangled and warped tapes and ways that are musical, but definitely not conventional and definitely not mainstream kind of broad comedy music. So hopefully people like it. I think we all do. I definitely do. So I think that we kind of start there and then kind of hope for the best. And you know,
yeah. I'm loving where the season's going right now. I know we're not even finishing yet, so no spoilers or anything. But yeah, it's definitely, I think it's structured differently than season one. But I love it's getting that dark place. We're getting more of Eli's backstory. Um, was it as a for the score, was it differently structured for you than the first one, at least narratively?
yeah, I think so. I mean, there's different. We wanted to bring back certain themes from season one for certain characters, and then abandon other themes that were not that wouldn't apply to this season because of the characters aren't in the show. And so we wanted some of those themes to feel um, the same, and recognizable and identifiable and welcome. But then we also wanted them to evolve. There's a lot of evolution with Baby Billy's character in this season, and so his theme gets gets a lot of work done. It's a lot of evolution happening. It's very different, and sort of the same with Eli's whole backstory. We wanted that to have its own sound and have this reoccurring, kind of dark undertow happening with Eli's character in his past and wrestling with his past, and all of these things coming to the forefront with him and his family And so we wanted the music to feel like it fit in that time because there's a lot of stuff in the 60s for this season. So we wanted it to feel like it fit there, but then also it would fit, in modern times when those themes needed to exist outside of the flashbacks. And then there's also an interlude episode that has a different kind of feel to it. It's Christmas as well, so that episode is a sort of Christmas episode. So a lot of it is, well, not a lot of it, but a lot of the score is not. I wouldn't say it's Christmas tinged, but it is has a different vibe because it's more about Amy Lee and it's more about a certain kind of time for the Gemstones that is outside of this some of the drama that will have led up to the flashback episode. So I mean, yeah, we just had themes and wanted them to evolve and not feel the same, but not evolve too much to the point where no one knows what's happening. Like they
Right,
need to
right.
feel like the same characters, even though the characters are changing.
Yeah. And speaking of interlude episodes, the interlude episode, of course, for season one brought us the wonderful Misbehavin, which is, I think, everyone, my wife, my brother, we're still like humming it every now and then. So I know that you've talked about in the past kind of the creation of your work with Danny and Edie Patterson to come up with a song. But I'm just curious, the genesis of this song, I'm sure it had to come before filming because had to use it to shape, it's diegetic. It appears in the story. So how did that come across, and did you work on that before you even touched the score, or how did that come in the process, the whole production process?
Well, it was in the script, and so I knew that it was coming. I started writing some ideas for for the song, and then I got a voice memo from Edie that was recorded in a writer's room, I think, with she and Danny, and it was her singing kind of like the first melody and the first verse of the song and some of the chorus, and so like she had sent this like kind of structured idea that I guess that she and Danny had kind of spitballed back and forth with in the writers' room, and so they recorded it and sent it to me, and it just kind of changed. It made everything very clear to me. Some of the stuff that I was working on was um, similar in vibe. We knew we wanted it to sound like the original song. We wanted it to sound like it was sort of a Carter family hit. So we knew like structurally and instrumentally what it would be. Um, but the melody that I was playing with was definitely different. And so when I got hers, I just kind of ran with it and just created, put music behind it, and then rearranged some things and wrote more lyrics and rounded it all out. And a lot of the lyrics that I was working on kind of fit into this idea once I got this voice memo from Edie. And so I just sat down and kind of did it really fast. It was very, I mean, it's a very simple song. It kind of wrote itself. And so I sent it back. This was all during, they were filming, but I want to say it was, they, so I mean, we weren't in post production, so it was I was writing score, but it wasn't like heavy into post. It was
Right.
we were kind of concerned with getting this stuff on the on screen music kind of handled before fine tuning a lot of the score in post. So I recorded a demo of it and sent it to them, and Danny was like, "Don't change a thing," and so it all kind of happened really fast, like less than a day, um, and then we just recorded multiple versions of it, and
Was it fun recording with Edie and Walton? How did I
that was
mean,
awesome.
since you guys kind of cooked it up together, and when you presented to Walton, what was his reaction to it? He's such a great performer, and he really embraced it.
I think everybody really enjoyed it once they heard it. It was kind of confusing, I think, for the crew because once they performed the version where Jennifer Nettles and Walton sing it, I think a lot of them were confused at this why they didn't why they couldn't find the song because it felt like something that was already out there, but they didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think everybody. I mean, I don't know specifically what Walton's thoughts were, but I think that yeah, it was a ball recording it. It was fun because he had to do two versions of it. We did the version that where he sings it as in the '80s, and so he's like in his 40s performing the song. But then we have had to do another version where he performs it as the older 70-year-old baby Billy character. So he did the one energetic version that would play in the flashback episode, and then he had to kind of shift gears and do and perform it with a different style and different energy to kind of convey this 80-year-old baby Billy performing. So that was a blast. And the end, Edie's amazing. You know, it's a very dreamy situation. You know, with these guys, like, just some of these songs are so bananas they were coming up with, and everyone's down for it. Everybody's like very energetic and happy to try new things. There's like a whole musical thing that will happen at the end of this season that I can't give away, but it's like, involves a lot of people, and it was hilarious recording like all these actors. Just I have so many outtakes of I would just get them to do it in different voices, or like do it like Neil Diamond, now do it, like now whisper the whole song, and so we would just have all these like crazy versions in the studio recording with these guys. It was a blast. So I mean, yeah, they're very easy and fun to work with.
Sounds amazing. But I do want that scene is so great too, because even though it's happening and it's diegetic, and it's the flashback scene, of course, the one with baby Billy and Jennifer Nettles, but it's the way it works because you're cutting back to Eli, who's sitting on the couch there, and it's a kind of, it has a melody. You're aware of the family trauma that's happening, but it works like in two layers. I don't know if that was like intentional, but like you cutting back, you feel the pain kind of happening behind the music as well, but it's also this very cheery kind of earworm hook of a song. I mean, was that a happy accident, or was that kind of intended?
I think it was always intended. We knew that it's baby Billy's character is he's at a sort of a low place at that moment when he's performing that song, and he's really reveling in the performance, and but it's all about like his memories. Like it's he's kind of reliving his past in this way that's kind of uncomfortable and a little sad, but also joyful. And then when he cuts to like present day and he's listening to the song by himself in the car, and he's listening to when baby Billy is listening to himself singing as a child, is an interesting scene. It's an interesting thing that happens, I think, for the show. And I don't know, I can't point to another moment of any kind of show or movie where something like that is done. And it's I'm super proud of all that, because I do feel like we did something kind of unique, and it was we pulled it off, and it wasn't super easy. Like all the on-screen stuff, like getting it all, you know, cinched up in that sense was challenging in a way. I mean, writing the song was easy, but we had to go out and record. We had to audition all these kids, and we, for the original version with the children singing, so we had to audition kids and go out to LA and record the kids. But then we had another version that was performed with Jennifer Nettles and Walton, and then we had another version that was performed with an older baby Billy and Edie's character. So there's all these different versions that play in different kind of different. It's like the soul of that season. It's like this weird
Yeah,
haunting soul of that kind of lingers throughout the whole season.
absolutely. And I mean, I think, yeah, it does. And I just loved recently, I think which episode it was, maybe last week or the week before, where Eli's just walking and he's just humming it to himself. It was a
Yeah.
nice little but speaking of those, specifically those two shows, Vice Principals and Gemstones, I love the intros, and nailing that main title intro, short and sweet. It seems to be the style that Danny and Jody go for. Vice Principals has the drum line and the whole and the vocals, and then Gemstones just has that big chorus and kind of talk about nailing that in such a short time period. Did it take a lot of tries to figure out what would work and to kind of bring the audience in and quickly get to the story?
Well, I think that, well, for Gemstones, that is, I didn't write that. That's a license thing that
Oh,
we
okay.
got. I did, they that got flown in early on. I wrote some options for it, but nothing really ever beat that. It was always working so well, and it was, so I couldn't beat it. But for Vice Principals, yeah, we had, we knew we wanted it. I had a bunch of drum lines that I'd done various versions of, this rushing, galloping drum line with this vocal rise. So we had a few things to play with. There was some stuff temped in, some like collegiate drumline stuff temped in early on, and but I teamed up with a guy who writes for drum lines, and so that's all he does. He's like a drumline teacher, and he's writes music for programs across the country. And so he and I got together and collaborated for a lot of the drumline stuff for Vice Principals, because drumline music is a little different than most written music. And so yeah, I so we wrote a bunch of things and just recorded a bunch of things, and I kind of edited some of the takes together for the gems for the Vice Principal's theme for the titles. So it's like a mashup of like a couple of different takes, and then I got the kids to do the vocal scream. I got them to do that a couple times and stacked it and make it sound really big, and it turned out well.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
that's
mean, they
great.
wanted, yeah, they don't want to mess around with too much time on the credits. They just want to get in and out, have it be really impactful. It helps also, like the cold opens for the show. It becomes a um, opportunity for comedy there, because we can create a scene knowing that it's going to have some sort of smash to the main titles, which won't last long. It'll just be like in and out. But in theory, that's something that fans would look forward to, like how we're going to get out of the cold open and into the titles. So we play
Yeah,
around with that stuff some.
it's a great kind of familiarity structure to it. Kind of you already know you're in a place that you want to be in for sure. And I love the way all the shows kind of intro in. But kind of jumping out of the TV world, between Vice Principals and Gemstones, you got to score The Legacy of a White-tailed Deer Hunter, which Jody directed as well. A script from with Jody, Danny McBride, and John Carcieri, who also did Last OG, which he did as well. Talk about scoring that feature. I think it's such an interesting kind of story, kind of personal, intimate story. And what was your approach musically for that?
That one was interesting because it was um, I got hired, and then I got let go, and then they hired somebody else, and that person got let go, and then I got rehired.
Oh wow.
So it was a weird. I mean, I feel like I scored that movie four different times. So I mean, it was in the end there was an idea that Jody had for guitars and making it more like Eastbound and Down in a way, less some of the ideas that were initially pushed around were more thematic. Having more of a more of a cinematic score, less like needle drop feeling. In the end, it needed to be needle drop feeling. So it just took a while to get to that, and so they went
Yeah.
through. Post was super weird on that, and yeah. So I wrote a bunch of stuff with dobro and band, and like had all this like not country but like acoustic music, and some of that's in there still, but that got abandoned for this electronic stuff, and then that got kind of like abandoned for different genres almost. Like the natural was in there, like more sweeping cinematic stuff. It was kind of all over the place in a way, but in the end, that kind of was what made it work in the same way that works for Eastbound as well as Observer and Report, similar to that. So it was kind of a unique experience for me. I kind of came back in and just wrote all this other, wrote completely different music than I had written 6 months prior to, and that's what's in there. And so it was it was it was fun. It was weird, but it was I'm proud of it. It's a cool movie. Yeah.
Does it ever get like awkward? Like if you guys are all friends and he's like, "Guy's not working, Joe, we gotta like let you go." Is
No,
it
it wasn't.
like
It wasn't a Jody was. It was like more of a studio kind of decision.
oh
They
yeah.
wanted to go a different direction, and so they went into a different direction. And then that direction didn't work. So then they just they
That's it. Listen to your
they brought me
directors
back.
and listen.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
It's the nature of the business for sure. But it's kind of going kind of a little bit speaking about your general approach overall. You really are, I think, like a master with sounds and textures and kind of offbeat instruments. Is there kind of a list of your top favorite like non-traditional instruments that you love to work with or that you've tried in the past that really surprised you or anything?
I mean, I have a love for synthesizers. Those are not unconventional anymore, though.
Mhm.
But I have a lot of them, and I have a lot of modular synths that I make a lot of percussion sounds and a lot of unusual synthy noises. And then, yeah, I mean, Let me think. Well, I had this instrument called a ukulele, which is this. It's like an old folk instrument that has like I don't know, 30 or 40 strings on it. They're all kind of like a harp, but there's like a drone section, but there are all these other. There's another level of strings that's slightly raised from the wood slab that it's on that you can where you can tune these strings and you can't fret anything. It's just like this slab of wood with strings up and down on it, and you bow it, and so I put that all over gemstones. So there's a lot of the kind of paddy, um, you know, ethereal kind of texture that's in there. Sometimes it sounds like violin. Sometimes it sounds like a synthesizer. A lot of times that's this ukulele that I'll just bow and just run it through tons of shimmering reverbs and delays and stuff like that to make it kind of like bloom and get otherworldly. Sometimes it's toned down and it's just more of a simple line. But I mean, you can't like play it like a violin. You can't rip it. Like you can't go nuts on it. It's very like it's like slow, but it's very weird. I found it online and bought it, and it's been pretty useful. I'd never heard of it before. Yeah, I also really love the omnichord. There's a lot of
Oh yeah, yeah.
omnichord in the gemstones. We got You'll see one character play it on screen at some point in the show. But I use that for this one character theme. So there's omnichord all over the gemstone score.
That's awesome. So to kind of wrap up, I always love to ask composers this kind of one question. I know it's going to vary from film to film or project to project. Where does the first note come from for you? Where do you gravitate towards when you start your process? Do you like to, if you're on early to read the script, you wait for first, cuts of a show or a movie, and then, or you just like to sit and talk with the director? But what kind of generates that first idea for you?
What generates the first musical idea? I guess that would certainly come from conversation with the director. And it kind of depends, like some jobs, there's time to explore and really, you know, get out of your element, do something that's maybe unconventional, or start in a way that's not just sitting down in front of a piano and writing a melody. Sometimes you have to do that, and so it just kind of depends job to job. I think that, but all it does start from reading it and having some sort of creative brainstorm with conversation with the director, producers that are in charge, and then hopefully there's common ground. A lot of times you get hired on something because of something that you've done in the past, and so sometimes I'll get asked to do something that's dark, synthy, sound like John Carpenter, scary stuff, and so that makes it that makes some of the genesis of the score, conceiving the score in your brain. It makes the step already taken. You already know you're going to need it to sound like a certain kind of synthy thing, or if it's like I do the show Upload that has a lot of piano and very melodic, and um, you know Greg Daniels, who does that, was very keen on melody, and he wants a lot of themes, and so I would just sit down at the piano and just write a bunch of themes without seeing some of it to picture, at least for season one, and then we'd float them in to see what works in the cut once we get cuts. It just kind of depends. Sometimes there's a lot of time to explore, and other times not, and so you got to kind of hit the ground running. I mean, for these guys with Gemstones and the Roughhouse guys, there's a lot of I try to write as much as I can before post production starts, just so that I can give editorial, and in general I like to do that for jobs, just to give editors music to play with, so I don't have to listen to temp music, and I don't have to think about other people's music when I'm trying to do something on my own. And so in general, that's, I feel like, something that I always try to do, and I'm sure I'm not alone in that.
That's I mean, I totally get that. But when you're writing stuff before post, what are you using as a kind of a template to write to? Are you just looking at, are you creating suites so that they can work with, or just ideas, like, and then you kind of maybe conform it later?
um I mean, again, that kind of depends. Yeah, if there's a melody that I'm feel strongly about, I'll create versions of that melody.
Mm.
Like I'll do different, like, do a little suite of certain motifs, Or if there's like a percussion with like a drum thing or some sort of percussive thing that I've created and like, I'll a lot of times like put a lot of different melodies over the same percussion. So there's like we can swap things out in and out. I mean, I'm usually starting on a piano or guitar and just kind of writing ideas down. And I mean, like I said, like if they want something that's not, if they want a synthy John Carpenter thing, then I'm going to go to the Prophet and make some, weird pulsy, drones, but,
Yeah.
but I also record a lot of those all the time. And so I have a lot of stuff that I can just kind of start by giving, a lot of times I'll get, with directors and producers, they will have a certain kind of palette that they want. And a lot of times I'll have stuff already sitting around that they can play with to see if it works, so I kind of record everything that I do. And so have, be it piano or synthy stuff or guitar, just to never forget.
Well, Joseph, I just, I love your work and I love your style and everything that you do with the guys down in South Carolina or without them. I think you've established a unique sound for yourself, and I've been enjoying the journey of all your music, and it was such a pleasure to chat today. So thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy, but yeah, thanks so much.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.